So we're going to go ahead and get started. Let's make sure we've got 2 blocks and a blanket, and you are all going to turn around and then lie down on your backs. You have to turn around too. I'm so sorry, Sandy. Except yeah, you were actually correct on that. And then when we find ourselves on our back, let's go ahead and bend both knees, plant our feet on the floor, walk your feet outside of your hips to the outer edges of your mat, and then let the knees knock in towards each other. And then from here, I want you to bring your arms up and over your head and grab opposite elbows. You're making this sort of square shape above your head. Fantastic. And when you first find yourself in this position, I want you to notice how it feels to have your head on the floor. So you might want to lift your head and readjust it until it feels like your head and your neck feel good. And then I want you to notice how you can really let the weight of the arms fall into the floor. And then start to notice how the shoulders feel on the back of the body and how they're resting into the floor. And then you might notice where the weight is in the pelvis. Does it feel like it's in the center near your sacrum, and there's like a hollowing in the belly, or does it feel like your tailbone is actually rooted and it feels like there's an unwinding there? And we're going to just take the first few minutes to just be here and just breathe. And you might notice that as you continue to deepen the breath, you might need to readjust something. So maybe your head will need to move a little bit. Maybe the shoulders will need to move a little bit, but you'll just take this time as an opportunity to settle into the body and get to notice its imprint in this moment, noticing where it's maybe not touching the floor. Maybe notice where it is touching the floor. And as best as you can, the elbows are really rested into the floor as well. Fantastic. On your next in-breath, check and see whichever arm is on top, and then go ahead and switch that. And then again, notice how that impacts the head, how that impacts the neck, the shoulders, the hips. And if you need to readjust, you'll readjust. In our practice today, we're going to focus on trying things a few different times to notice what changes we can make in order to find a greater sense of comfort, and additionally, a greater range of motion, a greater sense of expressivity in the body, in our beings. And so as you're here for these last few moments and last few breaths, I want you to just notice where you can take in a deeper breath. And as you pay attention to where you can take in a deeper breath, you might also notice where the breath doesn't want to go. And these are two sides of the same coin. So we're just going to start to notice them and attune to them. And then as you're ready, we're going to gently bring our hands to our chest. Let your hands rest on your heart space for a moment. And then walk your feet in so they're hip distance apart. Open the arms out into a giant T shape. Fantastic. Now, let's separate our feet again a little hip distance apart, maybe all the way to the outer edges of your mat. Let both legs fall over to your right. Fantastic. Some of you are going to stay right there. Some of you are going to bring the sole of your right foot onto the inner edge of your left thigh, really close to your pelvis, and really pull down. And so if you push that foot, inner edge, yep, you can push your right foot into your left thigh and really drag your left thigh down. It's almost like you're in a tree pose, pulling the thigh down, and then you can press the thigh into the foot and just find a nice stretch there. And if that's not working, no worries, just let the right foot drape onto the floor. Fantastic. Very gently, if that right foot's there, release it. Inhale, come back through center, and then exhale, let the legs fall over to the left side. And so then again, you might just stay here. You might bring that sole of the left foot into the top of your right thigh, really close to your pelvis. It's almost like you're in tree pose, and you're just pushing the left foot into the right thigh, and you're just finding a nice stretch there. There you go. Can I help? Okay, let me hold your foot. Just let your leg fall. Do you feel a stretch happening here? Yeah, and you just pause and you breathe. Fantastic. Gently release your left foot onto the floor, and then inhale, come back through center. Keep your feet as wide as your mat. Keep the soles of the feet glued to the floor, and then inhale, open your legs as far as they'll go. And then exhale, close them in. And you'll do about 5 of these. And so this is going to be our thing that we're going to do to find a neutral pelvis. And I want you to imagine that your feet are sponges and you really want to suck up all the water from the floor. So make your feet wide and porous and very receptive. Fantastic. Okay, and then let's go ahead on this next one and go ahead and come to a neutral position. Walk your feet in so they're hip distance apart. Bring your hands alongside your hips. And then let's robot our arms. So press down into the elbows. Check in with your head again. Notice how that feels. Press down into the upper shoulders. Feel how that feels. Become really wide in your feet. And then inhale, press down through your feet. Press down through your arms. Press down through your head and lift your hips. Now, when your hips lift to their height, again, check in with your head. How does that feel? Check in with your upper arm bones. How does it feel to press down into them? Check in with your feet. Are you pressing into your big toe mound? Are you wide through the inner arches of your feet, your transverse arch? Can you relax your toes against the floor and then lift your pelvis a little higher as the inner thighs roll down? And you just got 3 or 4 more breath cycles here. And you're just noticing how this feels to start in this back bend. Again, the inner thighs are rolling to the floor as you press your big toe down. Awesome sauce. On your next exhale, gently untuck the shoulders if you tuck them under and lower the pelvis back down to the floor. Take a moment to just pause here and see how this feels. And then you're going to go ahead and draw your right knee into your chest. Interlace your hands at the back of the right thigh if you'd like, and just squeeze the knee into your chest. Gently, you'll start to extend the right leg up towards the sky and root the thigh down. Now we'll pause here for a moment. Check in with your head again. Check in with your shoulders. Flex through that right foot. And then some of you will stay here with the right foot flexing. Some of you are going to start to take some ankle circles here. But again, you're breathing and we're paying attention to what's happening in the head, the shoulders, and the hips. So the leg is moving, but we're really noticing what's happening in the head, the shoulders, and the hips. And if you took your circles one way, please switch directions. Nice. And are you breathing? Great. Let's go ahead and come to stillness. Cross your right ankle over the top of your left thigh. Thread your hands through the whole of your legs and draw your whole configuration of legs closer to your chest. Now, when the legs come in, again, check in with your head. How is your neck? How is your shoulders? It theoretically should be the same type of orientation that we had earlier. And if not, we might want to put a blanket underneath our neck. And then check in with your pelvis. Is it still rooted? Can you press your right forearm into the belly of your right thigh? Flex through the right foot and just notice how that feels. Nice work. Very gently release your hands. Bring the foot back down to the floor and then release the right foot next to the left. Take a moment to notice how you feel, and then we'll go ahead and switch sides. The left knee comes into chest, hands interlace behind the back of the thigh. You might just take a squeeze and finding some compression there. And then as you're ready, extend the left leg up. You might flex through that foot and stay still, rooting the whole thigh into the pelvis, or you might take some ankle circles here. And again, we're noticing how is the head and the neck and the shoulders. Oftentimes we can find our shoulders will creep up and away from the floor as we do this. Yeah, and you make any adjustments that you need to. Fantastic. And then after you have gone both directions, we'll go ahead and come to stillness. Cross the left ankle over the top of the right thigh, flex through that foot, and then thread your hands through the whole of the legs. Draw your legs close to your chest. And again, check in. How's the head? How are the shoulders? How are the hips? And are you breathing? So we want to make sure that left foot is active. So actively press the outer, there you go, Julie, outer left ankle against the top of the right thigh. Check in with your left shoulder. Is it creeping up and away from the floor? Can you root it down? Nice work. At the end of your next exhale, gently release your hands. Bring the right foot to the floor. Bring the left foot next to it. Take a moment to pause. Bring your hands back alongside your hips. If there's anything underneath your head, we'll go ahead and remove that. And then from here, robot your arms. Press down into the back of your head. Push down into your feet. Lift your hips. Now this time when your hips come high, I want you to really draw your right shoulder up towards your right ear and then wrap it underneath you. Yep. And then draw your left shoulder up to your left ear and then wrap it underneath you. And then we're going to stay there and we're going to push down through our arms. And then I want you to notice what's happening in your head. There you go. And then push down into your big toe mound of your feet. And we're imagining our feet are super wide, like they're melting. There you go, like butter or something. And at the same time, they're sponges. So they're sucking everything up. And you're just pausing and you're breathing and you're rolling those inner thighs down. Fantastic. And you can stay here happy as a clam, or for these next 5 breaths, you'll inhale and lift your heels up and away from the floor. And you'll exhale and lower them down. Yep, and then you'll inhale and they'll come back up. And exhale, lower down. And as you take these last 3, you're trying to keep the hips as high as they are when you relevate up, and then lower the heels down, keeping them that high. Here we go. Nice work. After you've done 5 of those, you're going to gently untuck the shoulders, lower the spine back down to the floor, and bring your body back down. And just take a moment to pause and take a moment to breathe. Open the arms out into a T shape. And then on your next exhale, the legs will fall over to your right. And then you'll inhale and come back through center and exhale over to the left. And you'll do that one more time on your own. And you're just following your breath, letting yourself just fall and pause and fall and pause. Nice job, guys. After you've done both sets twice, you'll go ahead and come back to center, or both sides twice. You'll come back to center and you'll pause. Nice work. Now from here, let's go ahead and draw our knees into our chest. Slide your hands through the inner edges of your thighs. Grab the outer edges of your feet. Push your feet towards each other for dear life. And we're just going to stay here for a few breaths. And again, check in with your head. Check in with your shoulders. Can you press your pinky toes in towards each other for dear life? And you notice that the more you can press your pinky toes in towards each other, it gives you a different ability to open your knees wide, which then allows you to let your sacrum be super, super, duper, duper heavy. Fantastic. And we'll breathe here awkwardly for another 3 to 4 breaths. And again, where can you let go of any unnecessary tension? Maybe around the neck, maybe around the inner thighs. Sometimes this feels like a lot of tension on the inner thighs. Great. Fantastic. Now, as you're ready, you're going to start to draw your knees towards the floor, your feet up towards the sky. We're going to take a pause and happy baby. And I notice that for me, when I go into this shape, it changes where I feel the sensation. I might feel it more on the outer edges of one hip more than the other. And so you just pause and you breathe. And can you still let your head be heavy and the shoulders be heavy and the back of the pelvis be super heavy? Yeah. Nice work, guys and gals. And then notice if you're leaning to one side. See if it looks like more of your weight is going to your right hip versus your left. There you go. Awesome. And then very gently, we're going to release, hug the knees back into the chest, and then go ahead and plant the feet firmly on the floor. Bring your hands back alongside your hips. And with your hands alongside your hips, I want you to nutate the pelvis. So round the spine a little bit and then arch the spine a little bit just around your pelvis. So you feel your pelvis rock into the floor and then arch away. And then find your neutral spine, neutral pelvis there. And go ahead and come to stillness once you do. Great. Let's go ahead and robot the arms once again. Push down into the elbows, push down into the feet, push down into the head, lift your hips high. Great. Once you're lifted high, again, shrug the left shoulder up this time, wrap it under, and shrug the right shoulder up and wrap it under. Now push down into your arms, push down into your head, and press to the balls of your feet. Some of you are going to stay right here. Some of you are going to walk one hand and then the other right underneath your pelvis, and you're going to hold on to your pelvis. Great. And some of you are going to just stay right here. Some of you will lift one foot up towards the sky. Up, and you'll just take a breath there. Not yet, Sandy. And then you'll lower that foot back down to the floor. And then you'll lift your other foot up towards the sky. And you'll take a few breaths there. And then you'll lower it back down. And some of you will repeat that, lifting one leg and then the other. Some of you will lift both legs up, but you're just taking the time to pause. You're taking the time to breathe, and you're just noticing how that feels. Yep. And if you've lifted both legs, go ahead and lower both feet back down to that bridge pose. If you're still working one foot at a time, go ahead and finish both sides, and then we'll meet back in bridge. You'll release your hands, you'll untuck your shoulders, you'll lower your spine back down, and you'll take a moment to pause. This time, walk your feet outside of your hips, let the knees knock in. And we've come back to that starting position. So you might wrap your arms across the torso for constructive rest. You might reach them back up and over the head. But you just take a moment to pause and you take a moment to breathe, and you notice what is shifted just by doing a few things. All right, let's go ahead and add on. When you're ready, walk your feet back to neutral. Go ahead this time, and we're going to cross our right ankle over the top of our left thigh. Flex through the right foot. Thread your hands through the hole, grab the leg, and draw the legs closer towards you. Fantastic. Now this time I want you to see if you can find a difference in sensation. So for some of you, that will be pressing your right forearm into your right thigh. For others of you, you might grab the top of your left shin. Some of you might try lifting and lowering that left leg, so straightening and bending that left leg, but you're trying to see if you can find a different sensation. It's still opening the outer hip, but you're just paying attention to how you can start to settle. And then because we've been spending all of our time focusing on our head, I want you to notice what's happening in your head. Oh, yeah. And then in your shoulders and in your hips. Nice work. If you were doing any of the variations, come back to the standard position of figure 4. Now from here, I want you to grab your right foot with your right hand. Right foot with your right hand, lower your left foot back down to the floor. Your left knee is going to open to the left as your right knee comes to the right, and your right foot goes up to the floor, up to the ceiling. So you're in this weird, awkward, half happy baby. And you might notice that the right hand might want to come to the outside edge of the right foot, and you're really just allowing that left knee to open. And you're noticing if you're grimacing your face and if you've stopped breathing. And if so, no worries. Let's see if we can try to keep breathing. Fantastic. And you're just going to pause and you're going to breathe here. And you've just got 2 more breath cycles here. And you're noticing if you can really let the left leg open. So it just creates symmetry in the pelvis. And you're just feeling how that feels. At the end of this next exhalation, gently draw the left knee back to neutral, draw the right knee back to your chest, and then release both feet back to the floor. And you'll just take a moment to pause and you'll take a moment to breathe. And then we'll go ahead and try all that on the other side. So your left ankle crosses over the top of your right thigh. You flex through that foot, thread your hands through the whole of your leg, and then choose which variation you're going to do on this side. So you might just press the left forearm into the left belly of the thigh. You might extend and flex or bend and straighten that right leg. You might find that you want to grab the top of your right shin bone, but you're paying attention to what's working for you in this shape. And then once you've found that variation, recheck in with your head, yep, on your shoulders and your hips. And then of course, for all of this, we're hoping to breathe to some extent. You've got 2 more breath cycles here, and you're just noticing how that feels. And then at the end of this second exhalation, just come back to standard figure 4. Grab your left foot with your left hand. Lower your right foot back down to the floor. Let the right knee open to the right. Open the left knee to the left, and the left foot comes towards the sky. And you just take a moment to pause here and breathe here. And you'll notice that this feels slightly different. Like if you can roll to the whole outer edge of your right foot, so you're all the way on the pinky toe edge as much as possible. It just allows the hip to feel a little bit more open. And then you're breathing. And you've got 2 more steady breath cycles here. Nice work. And then gently we'll draw the right knee back to center, draw the left knee back to center. Release both feet to the floor for a moment and just take a moment to pause, take a moment to breathe. All right, here goes our last little bridge. Bring our hands alongside our hips. Bring your feet hip distance apart and parallel towards one another. And then from here, we're going to keep our arms straight this time. As you're ready, you're going to inhale, push down through the feet, push down through the arms, push down through the head, lift the hips high. Once the hips are high, you might draw your right shoulder up towards your ear and tuck it under, your left shoulder up towards your ear and tuck it under. You might grab the outer edges of your mat and pull it wide. You might interlace your hands underneath you, but you've got about 3 to 5 breaths here. And I want you to recheck in with your head. What is the relationship between your head and your chest? And then as we're here, we've got our super wide feet. And then notice if you can breathe in the back of the body. And you're just pausing and you're breathing and you're pausing and you're breathing and you're noticing how this feels. Nice work. At the end of this next exhalation, gently release the hands, untuck the shoulders, and bring the pelvis all the way back down. And then take a moment to pause and take a moment to breathe. And you might go back to constructive rest one more time. You might just stay neutral, but you're just checking in and you're feeling your way through yourself. Awesome. And let's take our last little Supta Baddha Konasana thing here, and then we'll move on. So go ahead and draw your knees into your chest. For this one, slide your hands through the inner edges of the thighs, grab the outer edges of your feet, press the soles of the feet together. That's just really to root your pelvis. Once you feel like you've got connection there, you might then draw your knees towards the floor and feet up towards the sky for happy baby. Some of you will stay right here and hang out. Some of you will straighten one leg and or both legs. But you're just going to take a moment to explore and sense. And sometimes to straighten both legs, you let go of the feet entirely and shift the legs back. So it kind of feels like you're, I don't know, a cheerleader doing one of those crazy jumps. Yeah, just like that, Sandy. And you'll just pause and you'll breathe. And we're looking for opening across the inner edges of our thighs, our hamstrings. So, you just notice how that's working for you, and you'll take 3 to 5 breaths. And then when you're ready, we're going to gently come out of it. So if your legs are straight, you'll bend your knees. You'll hug the knees into the chest. You'll release the feet down onto the floor. And then extend your arms alongside your ears. Send your legs down beneath you. Stretch and wiggle and yawn. And then like little sausages in a pan, you're going to roll over onto your bellies. Okay. Once we find ourselves onto our abdomen, we're going to extend our arms out into a T shape. Bring your right hand next to your face, right underneath your right shoulder. Go ahead and look to the right, and you're going to start to roll towards the left. So the left arm might crawl back behind you, it might not. You might stack one end or both of your hips on top of each other. So maybe that right hip comes on, but we're trying to find a stretch across our left armpit chest thing. And so you're just pausing and you're breathing and you're noticing how this feels. And then on your next in-breath, we're going to come back to our abdomen, slide the right arm out to the right, slide the left hand underneath the left shoulder, look to the left, and then we're going to roll over to the left. And you might stack your hips on top of each other. Your left foot might come back behind you. You might even inchworm your left arm back a bit, but you're trying to find a stretch across your left chest. Nice work. And you've just got 1 to 2 more breaths here. And just keep breathing. Great. Next in breath, let's come back onto our abdomen. Fantastic. From here, our feet are hip distance apart. Press down into the tops of your toenails. Now press your pubic bone straight down into the floor, and then extend your arms back alongside your hips. Turn your palms to face in so they're facing your thighs. So palms face your thighs. Here we go. Draw your shoulders up towards your ears and draw your shoulder blades together on your back. Now pressing down into your pinky toes and big toes, pushing down into your pubic bone, hug your shoulder blades together and lift your head, ears, and all that stuff up and away from the floor. Fantastic. Now we're going to keep pushing our pubic bone down. We're going to keep pushing our toes down. Some of us are going to stay right here. Others of us, we're going to inhale and open our arms out, parallel or rather perpendicular to your body, palms face forward, and then exhale, sweep them back. We're going to do one more. Inhale, arms sweep out, palms face forward, and then exhale, sweep back. You might continue that, or your next in-breath, you'll YMCA your arms up to create a Y, and then exhale, swim them back. Yep, do that again. Inhale, maybe to perpendicular or the Y. Exhale, sweeping them back. Third time, we might sweep our arms all the way up and overhead, and then exhale, sweep them all the way back. And last set, inhale, arms might sweep all the way up and overhead, and exhale, sweep back. Go ahead and keep your arms there, reach your heart forward, lift the back of your head and breathe for 3, press the toes down for 2, exhale all the way down for 1. Go ahead and plant your hands next to your ribs. Now, this is going to sound weird. I want you to slide your hands back about 2 inches. So they're now closer to your belly button, pubic bone. So slide them back a little bit further. Fantastic. Go ahead and energize your legs. Press the tops of the feet down. Press your pubic bone down. Now draw your shoulders up towards your ears and draw your shoulders onto your back. Engage your belly a lot. Next in-breath, you're going to push yourself up to an upward facing dog. Tops of the feet push down. Legs are strong. Belly engaged. Awesome. Breathe in for 3, breathe in for 2, breathe in for 1. Next, exhale, lower your knees down, come through hands and knees, curl both sets of toes under, and press yourself back to a downward facing dog. Now here's our first down dog. So I do encourage you, oh, I know, right? Bend your knees a crap ton. Bend your knees a crap ton, yeah. And then you're gonna slowly straighten one leg at a time. And you're noticing what's happening in your shoulders. Ironically enough, your shoulders are a lot more stable now than they normally would be. And so you're just pausing and you're breathing and you're saying, oh, hello, hamstrings. Hello, calves. I know you and I've missed you. Yep. And so you're slowly pedaling through your feet. Great. Fantastic. Once you've gone through both sides, let's go ahead and come to a still neutral spot. And then inhale, come forward into plank pose, fallen cosine, pause for dear life. Yay! Now we're going to press down a lot through our L shape of our hands. And I want you to imagine for some reason that I have a jellyfish underneath the palm of your hand. So you keep that part light and you lift up through your armpits, hello, and then you say hello to your serratus anterior. And then I want you to lift up through your inner thighs and then lengthen your tailbone down as you draw your pubic bone up to your belly and say hello, core. And then hug your outer hips in just a smidge. And then you're going to breathe for 3. Yes, we are. We're going to breathe for 2. Yes, we are. Hug outer hips in. Yep. And breathe for 1. Nice job. Next in breath, shift your weight forward as you exhale, lower slower than you want to all the way to your belly. Yeah, look at us go. Fantastic. Now we're coming back to that chest stretch thing again. So let's go ahead and open our arms out to the right and to the left. Some of you will keep your arms straight. Some of you will bend an elbow. So we're going to start with our right hand. Maybe the right elbow is bent. Maybe the right hand is straight. Bring your left hand underneath your left shoulder and then look to the left. From here, you're going to start to push down into your left hand and go towards the right. Now, if your elbow is bent, you might need to actually come out of that and walk your right elbow to the right first before you twist, but that's a side note. And then you're going to pause and you're going to breathe, and we're breathing into our right chest. And maybe that left foot is floating. Maybe the left foot is planted on the floor, but you're breathing into your chest. You are breathing into your chest. Actually, if you're breathing anywhere, I don't care, but make sure you are breathing. Fantastic. And then we're going to gently come out of that, rolling back onto our abdomen. Now look towards the left. Left elbow can be straight or left elbow can be bent. If the elbow is bent, slide it a little bit to the left. Plant the right hand underneath the right shoulder. And then we're going to start to roll to the left. And then again, that right leg might be floating. The right knee might be bent. The foot might be on the floor. But we are breathing into our left pec chest region. And we're just saying, hello, body. Nice, deep, steady, stable breaths. Fantastic. Extend breath, come back to your stomach. Again, separate your feet so they're hip distance apart. Press the toenails down and energize your legs. Slide your hands back so they are alongside your hips, palms face in. Yeah. Now from there, we're going to draw our shoulders up towards our ears and draw our shoulder blades together on your back. Press down into your toes, press down into your pubic bone, and see if you can hug the shoulder blades to lift the ears, the chest, the head, all that up and away. Fantastic. And then we're going to go back to those arm angel, snow angel things. So you can do whichever set you want. Maybe the arms just come out to the side in line with your shoulders and then sweep back. Maybe you do all three, which is what I'm going to do. I like the progression. Slowly coming then into the Y shape, YMCA. You can sing it in your head if that helps you. Actually, maybe that wouldn't help you. Then you're not breathing at all. YMCA. Don't just stay at the button, never mind. And then maybe they come all the way up and overhead. And the further forward your arms come, the more load you're creating on your body. So you navigate that for you. And then after you've done a total of 6, our arms are going to sweep back alongside our hips. Fantastic. And then from here, you're going to energize your legs so much that they float up and away from the floor. And notice how that gives you more capacity to lift your chest, surprisingly. And then from here, keep your head and chest lifted. Bring your hands underneath you. So your thumbs are in line with your ribs and nipples. Slide them back a little bit. And on your next in-breath, you're going to rock up to upward facing dog. So push down through the hands, push down through the toes, come up. And hello, that seems a little bit better. The low belly is engaged a lot. Heart is open. Fantastic. As you're ready, curl the toes under, make your way into a plank pose. Pause. And then make your way to downward facing dog. Now, once you're back into your downward facing dog, this is your second one of the day. Notice how this feels this time. And you just pause and you breathe and you pause and you breathe. And check in with those shoulders. All of this was to engage our shoulders. So we're lifting up, our ears are in line with our arm bones, so our head lifts up just a bit. Fantastic. Great. And you just got 2 more breath cycles here before we move on. Look at all your little balls in there, Sandy. All right, let's move on. Inhale, sweep your right leg up and back. And as you exhale, step your right foot between your hands. Pause here. You might bring your hands to your blocks or you might keep them on your floor. It's totally up to you. Spin your back foot down to the floor for a warrior 1 shape. And I want you to see how long you can make it. So we spent all this time opening up our hips intentionally. So find a long warrior 1, and then you're going to draw your right foot down to the floor. Press your left pinky toe down into the floor. Scoop your little bellies up. Draw your right hand to your right hip. Sweep your left arm forward to come up for a warrior 1. Now, some of you might slide that right hand to your low back. And then with your right hand on your low back, I want you to see if you can push your low back into your hand. So you'll notice that that engages your core just a little bit. And you might just stay there, happy as a clam, happy breathing, maybe not happy as a clam. Some of us are going to then lower both arms back behind us. And I want you to interlace your hands, taking awkward opposite interlace. So not the comfortable one. And then draw your shoulders up towards your ears and draw your shoulder blades together on your back. And some of you will stay here, drawing low belly in. Some of you are going to lower your head to the inside edge of your right knee, shin, or thigh. And you might not even go that far. Like you might be like, yep, I would a 45-degree angle forward, and that's my humbled warrior, and that's fine. What matters is, are you still breathing? If you're not, maybe we want to come out just a little bit. Fantastic. If you went down, we're going to inhale and come back up. When you find yourself vertical, take a moment first to push down into your feet. Gently release your hands and bring your hands up and overhead and grab opposite elbow. Now, when you're holding opposite elbow, I really want you to wiggle up the spine and see if you can find length in the torso, but depth in your legs. So you can find length in the torso and depth in the legs. You might feel more stuff happening here. And then relax our faces. And then when we're ready, we'll inhale, reach up through both arms. And then exhale, both hands come to frame our front foot. Pivot to the ball of your back foot and step back to plank pose. Great. Now, I'm sorry, but this is a psych out. I want you to push down through your hands. Walk your feet together. Walk your feet together. And then push down into your hands and roll your hips to the right. So whatever that means to you, roll your hips to the right. Keep your under hip lifted. Yep. And we'll breathe for 3. We'll breathe for 2. We'll breathe for 1. Inhale, come back through center, and then roll your hips to the left. Keep your under hip lifted. Press your right hand into the floor. So both hands are still pressing there. I'm making your obliques work in a not so fun way. And you breathe for 3, and you breathe for 2, and you breathe for 1, and you come back through center. Now you can lower down through Cobra Up Dog if you'd like, or make your way back to Child's Pose or back to Downward Facing Dog. But you choose and you breathe, and you choose and you breathe. And that's what we do. We choose and we breathe. And that's what we do time and time again. And those that are in their Child's Pose, I encourage you to take 3 breaths. Those that are in your down dog, I encourage you to take 3 breaths. Wherever you are, you're just noticing what it feels like. When my down dog people might fidget around a little bit, you might be still. It's totally up to you. Great. And then those that are in Child's Pose, we're going to start to make our way back to Downward Facing Dog. Fantastic. And then from Downward Facing Dog, let's go ahead and inhale, lift your left leg up and back. As you exhale, draw the left foot between your hands. Take a moment to bring your hands onto your blocks if you'd like. Spin your right foot completely down onto the floor. And I encourage you to still have a long stance from top to back of mat. Draw your outer left hip back. Push down into your right pinky toes. Make your left foot super heavy. And then you'll bring your left hand to your left hip. Start to sweep your right hand forward and come up for a warrior 1. Yeah, nice work. Now, when you're vertical, some of you might bring your left hand to your left low back. And with it there, you really can push your back into your hand, and you'll find that the low belly tones. And then you might find a stretch happening on the front of your right hip. And you reach up through your right arm. Yeah. Awesome. And then notice if you can soften any tension around your neck on the right side. There we go. Some of you will stay happy as a clam there. Some of you will go ahead and release our hands down to our low back. Take the normal interlace of the fingers. Now, again, we're still pulling that low belly in. Draw our shoulders up, draw our shoulder blades together, and then we might hinge forward. And it might just be like, I don't know, 10-degree angle. That's totally fine. Some of you might draw your head down towards your knee, but you're just really making sure you can still breathe. And if your head is careening to the floor, you can see your left hip. Make sure it's hugging in. There we go. And make sure you're still bending into your left knee as you try to breathe. So Laura, draw your outer left hip back for me just a little smidge more. There you go. Yep, yep, yep. Now, if your head is down, you'll inhale and start to come back up to vertical. Find your sense of balance first. Gently release the hands and then draw the hands up and overhead. Now, when you grab opposite elbow, find the one that feels weird to you. So whatever you initially do, switch it. And then you're going to inchworm your rib cage up as you continue to bend into your front knee. It just gives you a little bit of sensation. And then very gently, we'll reach both arms up. And then exhale, plant your hands onto the floor, pivot to the ball of your back foot, step yourself back to a plank pose. Option to stay right here, option to cycle through an up dog or cobra, and then we'll make our way back to downward facing dog. And you just choose whatever's working for you is fine. You're just continuing to breathe, continuing to breathe, continuing to breathe. All right, let's move on. Inhale, sweep your right leg up and back. As you exhale, draw the knee to the nose and plant the foot between the hands. Fantastic. Spin your back foot to the floor for warrior 2, and then bring yourself up for warrior 2. Great. Now, when you find yourself up in Virabhadrasana 2, you might want to adjust your legs. So you might want to walk your front foot back, front foot forward, back foot back. And then you might want to pay attention to what's happening in your knees. Sometimes I find that I have to internally rotate my foot just a little bit so my knee goes over the center of the foot. And then we'll open both arms out. We'll notice what's happening in our pelvis and how that's connected to our shoulders and our head. And then some of you will stay right here. Some of you are going to reach forward through your right arm, maybe lowering right forearm to top of right thigh. Maybe fingers come to block or floor, and then extend your left arm over your ear. And you just got 3 breath cycles here. And so we're pressing into the back foot a lot. We're bending into the front knee a lot. We're hugging the outer right hip in. And then we're noticing if we can soften any unnecessary tension. So your arms can reach forward as much as they want, but we don't want any like gripping or unnecessary tension. So anything that's unnecessary, we just let that go. Fantastic. On your next in-breath, sweep the left arm back, come back to warrior 2. And then as you exhale, cartwheel the hands down to the floor, pivot the ball of the back foot, pause here, step your right foot back to meet your left, roll your hips to the left, stacking right hip on top of left. Some of you will stay right there. Some of you will stack your feet on top of each other. Some of you will float your right arm up for 3, for 2, for 1, gently lower back down through plank. Try the other side if you'd like. Yep. Fantastic. For 3, for 2, for 1. Gently come back through center. Make your way back to downward facing dog. You might rest for a few breaths in child's pose or just go directly to downward facing dog. But you're just going to breathe wherever you are. We got a little break before we do the other side. Are we okay? Okay. Are you sweating? Awesome. And Jenny, I want you to push back into me. There we go. Does that feel different in your shoulders? Oh, yeah. Oh, I do too. It's hypermobility. All right, let's go ahead and try the other side. Inhale, sweep your left leg up and back. And then exhale, draw your left knee to nose, plant your foot between your hands. And then we'll spin your right foot to the floor and come up for warrior 2. Fantastic. Okay, now take a moment to pause. Look down at your feet. Does your front foot want to go forward? Does your back foot want to go back? How is your front foot? Is the knee aligned over the center of the foot? Do you need to turn the foot in a little bit or the knee out? Either is okay. And then some of us will stay right here, happy as a clam. Some of us are going to reach forward through our left forearm, maybe lower left forearm to the top of left thigh, maybe lower left arm to the floor, fingertips to the floor or block, and then right arm extends alongside our ears. And then you just take a moment to pause and you take a moment to breathe and you notice, how is the shape? How is your breath? How are you? Yeah, that was nice. And then when you're ready, you'll sweep your right arm back, return to Virabhadrasana 2. And then exhale, cartwheel the hands to the floor, pivot to the ball of your back foot. Step your front foot back to meet your back foot. Roll your hips to the right. You might keep both feet on the floor separate. You might stack the top foot, so the left foot on top. You might float the left leg up and float the left arm up. You do whatever works for you, but you pause and you breathe for 3, for 2, for 1. Gently lower left hand down. Visit the other side if you'd like. For 3, yep, for 2, for 1. Come back through center. Cycle through up dog or cobra, and we'll all meet in a little child's pose for a few breaths. And you just pause and you breathe. And you just pause and you breathe. And you take 3 breaths in child's pose, and after you've taken your 3 breaths, you'll make your way back to a downward facing dog. And you just notice, how's it going? How's it going? And so after you've taken your 3 breaths in child's pose, you'll make your way back to your downward facing dog. Once we find ourselves in downward facing dog, you will walk yourself to the top of your space and find yourself in Uttanasana. Okay, now when we find ourselves at Uttanasana, just because we've been playing with this today, I want you to grab opposite elbow And then I want you to tuck your chin to your chest. And when you tuck your chin to your chest, notice how the back of your neck suddenly became a lot longer. And you might stay still there. You might do gentle movements. Oh, your hamstrings look more open today. Yeah, your hamstrings look more open today. And you just pause and you breathe. All right. And you've got 2 more breath cycles here, and I really want you to feel into your feet. So your feet are like sponges, so let them be wide, and they're soaking up the ocean of the floor beneath you. And your feet are like earth-sized sponges, so they can really hold all that water. All right. And then we're going to go ahead and gently release our hands down alongside our feet. Inhale, halfway lift. Maybe hands come to shins. Maybe they come to the blocks. On your next exhale, you'll fold all the way back. Take a deep bend of the knees. Inhale. As you exhale, scoop your belly away from your thighs. Float your hands back alongside your hips, palms face in. Then inhale, sweep your arms forward, sit your butt low. Uttanasana chair pose. And again, wide feet. Lifting up through the pinky fingers. And you'll breathe for 3. Find a little arch in the low back for 2. On your next exhale, you'll inhale, push through the feet, lengthen through the legs, lift up, look up. And then exhale, lower your hands alongside your hips. And you'll just take a moment to close your eyes and settle there. If you need to shake or wiggle, by all means do that, but just notice how you feel. Okay. Fantastic. All right. If you've got let's gently open our eyes if the eyes are closed. If you have a block between your legs, please go ahead and remove that. And then we're going to turn to face the side. So let's all, cool. Now keep your feet together though. And I want you to stand towards the top of your mat. I know, I should have been clear about that. Now you're going to bring your hands to your hips. We're just doing this to straighten the outer legs. You're going to step your back foot. So I guess for most of us, that's our left foot out. And then step your foot in. We're going to do about 5 of these. Da-da, da-da, da-da. Oh, yeah, he probably can't see me. You were right. So we're doing little sides. And then, oh no, they can't see me, but they can definitely see you guys lunging to the side. Da-da. I wasn't counting. I guess we're at 5 now? More than 5? Okay. Take your leg out again. So for most of us, that's our left leg. Let's go ahead and turn our left toes to face the back of our space. Now, if you need to, you might need to wiggle walk your right foot back just a smidge. Turn your right toes in to face the back of your space. And we're going to push down through the feet, hug in through the hips, and then lift out through the arms. From here, I want you to reach so far forward through your left arm that your hips have to shift back, and you can lower your left hand to the shin, maybe the ankle, maybe the foot, maybe the floor, and then you can reach up through your top hand. Now I want you to draw your shoulder blades onto your back again, squeezing them together, and then lean your heart back into your shoulder blades, yeah, and then align your head with your heart. Fantastic. And we'll breathe for 3. We'll breathe for 2. We'll breathe for 1. Fantastic. Some of you will stay right here. Some of you will bring your top hand to your top hip. Great. You'll turn your gaze down to face the floor. Great. You'll bend your left knee. You'll take your left hand to the floor in front of you and outside of your left foot. You'll shift your weight forward. You'll wiggle walk your back foot in. Shift your weight forward and float your back leg up. And you'll pause for 3. Lifting through your inner back thigh for 2. And for 1, fantastic. If your leg is lifted, we're going to look down to the floor again. You are going to bend your supporting leg. Step your lifted leg back and come back through a warrior 2. Yep. Go ahead and straighten your front leg long. Turn both feet parallel to the short edges of your mat. Now, this time your front leg, well, bring your hands to your hips. This time your front leg is going to come to your back foot. Aha! Now we're going to do that again. and then goes out and in. What? It is a long trip to the back of our mat. I feel like, though, most of us have pretty long legs. So I think most of our legs are at least 3 feet long. That's pretty long. No? I don't know. I guess it's relative. All right. I wasn't counting again. So we'll say the next one is the last one. So feet are super wide. Fantastic. Turn, I guess now your right toes to face the top of your space. Turn your left toes to face the top of your space. And if you need to widen your feet, please widen your feet. Now, first things first is you're going to push down through the feet, hug up through the legs so your kneecaps pull up. And then we're going to go ahead and reach both arms out. Now, as you reach forward through your right hand, you're going to shift your hips to the left and then lower your right hand down to the top of the shin, maybe the ankle, maybe the floor, and then your left arm will reach up towards the sky. And again, I want you to hug your shoulder blades onto your back body. Your tailbone lengthens down to your inner back thigh, and you can lean your heart back into your shoulders, and then lean your head in alignment with your heart. And we'll pause for 3, we'll pause for 2, and we'll pause for 1. Some of you will stay right here. Some of you will bend your top elbow and grab your top hip. Now you'll turn your gaze to the floor. You'll bend your right knee. You'll walk your right hand forward and outside of your right hand. You will wiggle walk your back foot in a little bit to shift your weight onto your right leg in order to float your left leg parallel-ish to the floor. And then we'll just pause and we'll breathe here for 3. We'll pause and we'll breathe here for 2. We'll pause and we'll breathe here for 1. If that leg is lifted, gaze comes to the floor. Bend your supporting leg. Reach your left leg back and you'll cartwheel sort of back into a triangle pose. Triangle, warrior 2. Words, wow. And then go ahead and straighten both legs. Turn both feet parallel to the short edges of your mat. Slight variation, hands will come to your hips. You might stay there. Hands might interlace behind your low back. Push down through the outer edges of your feet. Draw your heart up. Draw your shoulder blades together on your back. And we're going to hinge forward halfway. Pause. If this feels okay for your hamstrings, you might continue to let your head descend. Otherwise, release your hands underneath your shoulders. And then you might release your head down to the floor. But you'll just pause and you'll breathe, and you'll pause and you'll breathe, and you'll pause and you'll breathe. And if your hands are behind your low back, you might draw the heels of the hands towards each other and reach the arms up towards the sky. You might even let them come over your head, but you're just going to pause and breathe. And then if your hands are on the floor, find a space that feels good for you. And we just pause and we breathe. Yeah, we're doing it. Fantastic. If your hands are behind your back, bring your hands to your bum and then slide them down the legs and to the floor. Everyone else, let's go ahead and release our hands now so they're underneath our shoulders, so you'll lift your spine halfway. Bring your left hand underneath your face. Bring your right hand to your sacrum pelvis thing. Now I want you to really see if you can lift your spine parallel-ish to the floor. So you might need to come to the tips of your fingertips like you're a football player getting ready to hike it back. Now keeping your left hand down, your right hand on your pelvis, your spine parallel to the floor. Start to pull the belly in on the right side, and you'll rotate your right shoulder on top of the left. And you might feel a stretch or a twist happening across the belly, but the pelvis ideally stays pretty level. And then you can isometrically pull back with your left hand, and it gives you a fun something happening on your left side. And you'll pause and you'll breathe. And then you'll see if you can lean your head back, and some of you will stay there. Some of you might float your right arm up, but you're just pausing and you're breathing. And we're finding a nice, gentle internal twist, mostly across the ribs and the abdomen. Fantastic. So the right hand came up, bring the right hand back down to the pelvis and then down to the floor. And then we'll try all that on the other side. So right hand underneath your face, left hand to your sacrum, spine parallel to the floor. And with our fingertips on the floor, we really can isometrically pull back and then start to draw your left shoulder on top of your right, scooping the low belly and rotating your ribs towards the left. And you might stay there happy as a clam. You might reach up for your top arm. And we're just noticing what is the relationship between our head and our heart. Let our heart lead the way and the head follow. Let the guts sort of guide the heart. Yeah, and you've got 2 more breath cycles here. And then very gently, we'll lower the left hand back down, bringing both hands to the floor, and then see how far forward you want to fold in for your Prasarita Padottanasana this time. And you just pause and you breathe. Yeah, nice job, guys. All right. Okay, now let's gently come out of this. Inhale, halfway lift. Go ahead and bend your knees really like you're a football player this time. I want you to bring one hand to one hip, one hand to the other hip. Draw the shoulder blades onto the back, and then inhale, come up. Go ahead and straighten your legs long. Press to the balls of your feet, turn your heels in, your toes out, and then bend your knees and pop a squat into second position. Your hands will then slide down onto your thighs, and some of you will stay right there, just tractioning out the spine by locking out the arms and leaning forward. Some of you will take a gentle twist to one side or the other. Well, we've got about 5 breath cycles here, so you do what works for you. I personally like going to one side and just kind of hanging out there. It feels like it tractions the spines and opens the adductors, but you do whatever works for you. Yep, and if you did something asymmetrical, please visit both sides. And then we'll come back to center. We're going to bring our hands to heart center, push our sternum into our thumbs into our sternum, and breathe for 5, 4, 3, 2, 1. Nice job. Straighten the legs. Turn the feet parallel to each other. Step your feet together, and then walk to the top of your space. Last little thing. Inhale, circle, sweep arms up and overhead. And then exhale, fold forward at your hips. Uttanasana, forward fold. Feel how this feels. Gently, you're going to bend your knees, plant your palms, step one knee back and the other knee back to a tabletop position. And then make your way to a child's pose position. And you'll just pause and you'll breathe there for a few breaths. And you just pause and you breathe and you notice. Our breath is that thing that tells us we always have the capacity to start over, to make something new of whatever situation that we've got. And by new, it just means maybe how we're responding or reacting to it. You can try the same thing over and over and over again, but I'm pretty sure somebody said that's the definition of insanity. So every time we try something, we try it a little bit different. My acting teacher calls it polar opposites. So if you do something one way, he makes you do it a completely different way the next time you do it. It's maddening and freeing at the same time. Bless you, Laura. And then very gently, we're going to go ahead and come to sit on top of our shins in Bhadrasana. If you cannot sit here because this doesn't work for your body, you might just put a block underneath your butt and crisscross your legs. But otherwise, we're going to sit and we're going to close our eyes. And I want you to just come to stillness. And I want you to feel, again, back to the back of the body. So how does your head feel in relationship to your shoulders? How do your shoulders feel in relationship to your pelvis and your hips? And you just take 3 to 5 breaths here. Noticing where there's any unnecessary tension that you might just soften or just allow it to be there. Great. Very mindfully, open your eyes, shift your hips to one side and swing your legs around in front of you for Dandasana. You might sit up on a blanket if your hamstrings are tight. You might not. It's totally up to you. Okay. So we're going to start by bending our left knee, externally rotating our left thigh. Yeah, your left knee, my right knee. So by the way, yeah. I know I did that and I was like, that is my left leg, but that's not your left leg. Okay, so then we'll sit up super tall and then we're just going to hinge forward from our hips and walk our hands forward. Our right foot is engaged, toes are pulling back towards our knees. And you'll just take a few breath cycles here. Some of you might grab your foot, some of you might not. It's totally up to you, but you're just pausing and you're breathing and you're noticing what's happening here. And then very gently, we're going to come out of this shape. So you'll walk your hands back to walk your spine up. You'll grab your outer left leg, close your left knee, extend your left leg long. Just take a moment to sit in Dandasana, feeling how that feels. We'll go ahead and try it on the other side. So you'll bend your right knee, externally rotate your right thigh, and then sit up super tall. And we'll hinge at the hips. So trying to keep our sacrum pretty strong, or rather straight. And then we're gonna hinge forward. And some of you will just crawl your hands alongside your left thigh. Some of you will hold on to your left foot, but our left foot is active. Toes are pulling up to knee, knees pulling up to hip. And we're noticing what's happening in our shoulders and in our jaw. And then can you flex that foot for me, Roberta? There we go. And then very mindfully, we'll come out of this shape. So hands will press down into the floor. We'll walk our spines up to center. Go ahead and slide your right foot a little bit to the right. Just slide your left foot in. And then we're going to sit forward just a little bit for Baddha Konasana. And when I'm here, I like to massage my feet, especially the top of the foot in that tarsal region between my big toe. Like I can dig my finger in there and it hurts a lot, but it feels so good. And just massage your feet and see how that feels for a little bit. Okay, and we're going to gently come out of this. Close both knees. Last little thing. Extend both legs. Ooh, there's a cramp now. Extend both legs long. We're going to bend your right leg. Put your right foot underneath your right sit bone. Bring your right hand inside of your right leg. Bring your left hand behind you. Make sure your left leg is super straight. Now, sometimes I like to cheat, so I'll hold on to my left shin with my right hand, and I'll inhale and lift up, and then I can pull with my right hand against my left shin, and it'll allow me to rotate towards the left a little bit. And that just feels super nice. And you just sit super tall through the spine. And then if you feel like you've gotten the twist, you can release the arm straight and let it off the thigh. But you just pause and you breathe. Some of you will turn that hand down and you might take a half bind or a full bind, but you choose based upon what's appropriate for you. So Marichi Asana 1, you're just pausing and you're breathing. And then we'll gently release. We'll come back through center, extend both legs long, sit for a moment, all in Dandasana. And we'll try all that on the other side. So this time you'll bend your left knee, put your left foot, heel in line with your sit bone. And then you might walk your right hand off to the right a little bit to swing your left arm in. It just helps. And then if you'd like, you can grab onto the outside edge of your right calf, walk your right hand back behind you, lift up through the spine, and then start to pull the belly to the right. See if you can root that left sit bone down as you flex through the right foot. Yeah. And some of you will stay right here. Some of you might extend the left hand forward, turn the left thumb down, maybe swim your left hand back towards your left hip, or maybe grab it with your right hand. But you just pause and you breathe, and you pause and you breathe. Nice work. Very gently release that. Go ahead this time and externally rotate your left foot. Draw your right foot in to meet it. And this time we're going to hinge forward in our Baddha Konasana. So like if you have a block and you want to put your elbows on a block, you want to put your forehead on your block, you can do any of that. And you might even have to build like a tower. But you just pause and you breathe. And you pause and you breathe. Nice work. You've got about 3 to 5 more breath cycles here. And again, you might be still, you might be massaging your feet. Okay, very gently, we're gonna come out of this. So walk the hands back, roll the spine up, hands to the outer edges of your thighs. Well, if you have blocks, move your blocks. Close your knees, and then you guys are gonna turn around and lie down on your backs. And when you find yourself on your backs, we are going towards Shavasana. So if you need to cover yourselves up before you go to your back, by all means do that. But you'll make your way to your back. Oh man, that was like no help. You're like, I'm trying to grab it, and I'm just like standing there awkwardly. Not a sock shirt either. And then you'll make your way onto your backs. And when you come onto your backs, I do encourage you to go back to that very first starting position that we started in. So you're going to be in constructive rest. Your feet are outside of your hips. Your arms are up and over your head, and you're clasping opposite elbow. And you're just going to take a few breath cycles here to pause. And you'll notice how much of your elbows can really rest into your hands and rest into the floor. You'll notice what small adjustments you might need or want to make in your head or your shoulders. And some of you will stay right here. Some of you are going to walk your feet closer towards each other, and you're going to cross at your shin bones and let your knees open up. So like crisscross applesauce with your legs. Yep, that was clear as mud. There we go. And you'll just pause and breathe here. I learned this from Rodney Yee, and I've been enjoying this. It's like this nice, weird stretch that's happening on one of the inner groins. And if you want to stay there, you stay there. We'll breathe. And we will switch sides, so not to worry. Got about 3 more breath cycles here, and you're just noticing how it feels in this moment to be fully in your body, fully in your breath, fully in this moment in time. Now, if you are doing that weird crisscross applesauce position, I want you to notice which shin is in front. And then you're going to slowly come back out of that shape. And then you're going to switch sides. And then once your legs are settled, you'll also need to change your arms. And you just pause and you breathe. And as you're in this shape, I invite you to notice what you might need or want to do to finish your practice. Some of you might stay here. Some of you might make your way to a traditional shavasana. Some of you might have a wall nearby and do legs up the wall or Supta Baddha Konasana, but you choose based upon what feels appropriate to you. And your breath will tell you if that's the best place for you to be right then, because it'll become more effortless. It'll become fuller. It'll be unlocked, in essence, released. So as you're ready, you'll start to make your way to your final shape, whatever that may or may not be for today. And as you find your way into your final shape, just as we started with, I encourage you to take the opportunity to notice how your head feels, how your neck and your shoulders feel, how your hips feel. And you make the small necessary changes until you feel settled, until you feel comfortable. And then once you're settled there, I want you to take 3 big breaths in and 3 big breaths out. And the breaths can be audible or not. And you just allow yourself to settle in, to fall in. With your last 3 breaths. And as you settle into this shape, allow every breath to let go of something new, to reveal something new. And then you remind yourself that every breath is the opportunity to start anew, fresh. And our practice teaches us that breath by breath, moment by moment, shape by shape. We'll go ahead and leave you here with you for the next few moments, and I'll let you know when it's time to come out. Return your awareness to your breath. As you come back to your breath, take a moment to check in. If there's any part of you longing to linger here, by all means, please stay here. When you are ready, you allow small movements to re-enter into your physical form. Pose in stillness, stay as long as you'd like. Pose in movement, just slowly start to make your way to one of your sides, where you'll pause for a few breath cycles. from your side. You'll gently start to roll your chest more towards the floor. Press your top hand into the floor and start to walk your spine up to vertical. When you are vertical, I encourage you to take the opportunity to sit on a block or a blanket. And when you are seated, go ahead and keep the gaze soft or the eyes closed. And again, feel what it feels like to have the head in alignment with the shoulders in alignment with the hips. Go ahead and place your hands wherever it feels comfortable for you so that the gates of the heart stays open and receptive. And then from there for today, let's all actually turn our palms to face up. I want you to interlace your fingers. And then you're going to put the weight of your hands on your heart. And then go ahead and close your eyes. And you'll just breathe here for a few breaths. I can't remember the name of this mudra at this moment, but it's supposed to help us tap into our heart center, our wisdom. And so as you're here and breathing, I really want you to just tap into that energy. Our breath really is that tool that allows us to start over, and sometimes it's the courage of our heart that tells us that we can start over. Whether it's something we said to someone, whether it's taking a new opportunity at work, a new chance in life, whatever it may be. The breath is what moves us, but the heart is what directs and guides us. So as you're here for these last 3 breath cycles, I encourage you to maybe set an intention of what is it that you're working to cultivate in your own life. How can you trust that wisdom that is beneath your hands? And then how can you let the breath to support that and making the necessary movement or changes that need to happen? As you're ready, you'll bring your hands to heart center Anjali Mudra, palms pressing into each other. Release the weight of the thumbs into your sternum, sternum into thumbs. Gently exhale all the breath from your mouth. Take a big breath in. Audible breath out. Inhale for Om. Join if you'd like. Om. Draw your thumbs to your third eye. May our thoughts be clear. Draw your thumbs to your lips. May our words be kind. And draw your thumbs to your heart center. May our hearts be open. The light, the breath within me honors and salutes the light, the breath, and the hearts within each of you. Namaste.